Hi, welcome back to our class. And this is a Psych 5, Personal and Social Awareness. And this week, we are going to talk about work and some other topics about work, such as career, such as jobs, such as leader life. And basically, this week, we are going to talk about work and other stuff related. And this week, please read chapter 10 beforehand. And we can continue our class. So first of all, let's know about some basic concepts about work and career and other stuff. So first of all, work. So work is really frequent word that we use in our daily life. So what is work? And work is defined in this textbook as something to do because I want to do or I enjoy to do. So work is anything to do because I want to either do it or I enjoy doing it. So that's work. So you may ask, isn't work something that you have to do? Or something you enjoy doing is not work? Is it work? So in the textbook, work is something that we enjoy doing instead of something we have to do. So if we choose to do something because we want to do it or we enjoy doing it, that is work. So you may think that something you enjoy doing is something having fun. It is true. You can have fun with doing something you enjoy doing, but work is also something you enjoy doing. So that is work. So that's not something we have to do or we are forced to do. So if we have to do something or we are forced to do something, that is not work. And because work is based on our volition, based on our free will, we choose to do it, and that is work. And the next basic concept is career. So career is a concept that involves in time, involving a long-term transition. So career is basically the life's work. In one career, so everybody has one career, and one career may last for many years, like 10, 20, 30, 50, and even 60 years. And in one career, that there may be several occupations because people may change occupations. Maybe people change work, they change their jobs many times in their career. And change to a new specific job may also involve changing the occupation, but might not involve changing occupation because you probably have a new job still in the same career, in the same occupation. But you probably change to another job, and also at the same time you change to a different new occupation. So one career may include different occupations, different jobs, and that is for everybody's entire life. That is basically the history or record of somebody's life, somebody's work for his or her entire life. Occupation is a profession or vocation. So it is not a specific job, it's not a career. It is a specific realm of work. And people are professional in that occupation. For example, teacher. Teachers are professional at teaching. And for example, accountants. Accountants are professional at building accounts, providing the financial services to companies. So I think that's what the accountants do. And also other occupations such as doctors. I mean, medical doctors. So medical doctors are good at or professional at curing diseases or providing medical services to patients. So that's what the doctors do. So doctor is one occupation. Teacher is another occupation. Accountant is a third occupation. And there are so many occupations. There can be new occupations nowadays because it is changing so fast. There can be new occupations that people never have done those kind of occupations before. And also there are some occupations that are too old-fashioned so that nobody is doing it. So that is occupation. And another concept is job. So that is a specific position of employment within a occupation. So within the same occupation, you can change many jobs. You can find a different job in different companies. You can go to different companies for different positions for jobs. And basically, a specific job usually includes a specific position, and you are in that position. And you probably an employee who is working for a certain organization or company. Yeah, so, and also another very specialized type of job is that some people are self-employed. It means that they work for themselves. They do not have a particular employer. They employ themselves, but they don't have employees. They just work for themselves. For example, athletics or some kind of professional sports players. For example, the basketball players in ABA. Yeah. So they are defined as self-employment, those players. They are not real employees of NBA. They sign a contract with NBA, but they are self-employed. It's like they provide the service to NBA and they are themselves employees. Yeah, the subtitles are not really accurate, actually, but you can got it. You can got the meaning of what I say. If you have trouble with these new subtitles, you can tell me, so I can provide some other like help to modify these live scripts. Not live scripts, transcripts. So another concept besides these work-related concepts is recreation. So recreation is a activity to restore yourself, to refresh yourself, to create something. So recreation includes all the activities in order to restore, in order to refresh, in order to create something new. So that is things to do away from work. That is things to do that when we do not work. So that is a recreation. So there's another work called leisure. So proper leisure is another word for recreation. So these are the basic concepts that we need to know of for this week, for this chapter. So let's continue. So the next big topic is about choosing a career or choosing a occupation. So what we need to do when we choose a career. So what we need to consider about what occupation we want to go. So what we are going to do next in the next step or in the future for our entire life. What factors to consider? So let's talk about them. So here's a question about this. So for you, so what factors do you consider if you are choosing a occupation? So you may have those kind of experience already, and you have chosen a certain occupation. So what is your experience? What factors did you consider when you chose a occupation? Or you haven't chosen a occupation yet, you haven't graduated from the college yet. And you can think that if you graduate from the college, you need to choose a specific occupation. What factors are you going to use? What factors are you going to consider? So think about this, and you can take notes, write down several factors that you think you need to consider when choosing a occupation. So you can pause the video right now and think about this question. So what factors to consider? One of them is yourself, is about yourself, is your own attitudes about certain occupations. So how do you think of these occupations? How do you feel about these occupations? How do you like these occupations? That is something you need to consider of. For example, if you don't like accountants at all, that is your attitude toward accountants. So you may consider not choosing that occupation because you don't like that occupation at all. And on the other hand, if you like accountants a lot, you can choose that occupation because you like it a lot. You have a really positive attitude toward that occupation. So how do you feel about that occupation, and how do you think about that occupation really matters when you consider what occupation to choose. So first of all, ask yourself, ask your own heart, how do you feel about those occupations? So if you don't like it at all, it is really difficult for anyone to do well in that occupation. At the same time, hating that occupation. And another factor to consider includes the abilities and aptitudes you have. So one thing is ability. So what can you do well? What kind of abilities do you have? For example, teaching, for example, writing, for example, communication, for example, solving problems for other people, for example, managing, organizing events. So all these are abilities. So if you are good at managing, you are good at organizing events, probably you are better to be a manager in a company. You can be the management trainee first, and you can be the manager, some kind of manager for a store or for some kind of a groups in the company. If you like to calculate, probably you are good at being an accountant. That is possible. If you are good at conveying knowledge to people, persuading people to have certain knowledge, probably you are good at teaching. You can be a teacher in the future. if you are really good at programming, writing codes, probably you can be a programmer for a IT company. Yeah, you can work for a company who creates softwares or create run some kind of websites. Yeah, you can work for those companies. And there's another thing that is closely related to abilities, that is aptitude. So that is skills people have to acquire some proficiencies. So those are the skills to manage, to master for some kind of occupations. So those are really close to abilities, but abilities are more general, more fuzzy, and aptitudes or more specific skills for some kind of occupations. For example, if you are a programmer, the specific skills can be being able to use Python, being able to use C+ to write codes. Yeah, so those are aptitudes. So when you consider what kind of a occupation would you like to choose, think about your own abilities and what you are good at. So those are really important too. However, in my experience and also other people's comments about this, abilities at the beginning, might be really important, but in the long run, abilities are not that important, because the abilities you have right now only make you are successful during the next 3 years. So for the next 3 years, or you can be good at a certain occupation if you have those abilities already. If you have those skills already, you are good in the next 3 years. But in the long run, if you work more than 3 years, you need other stuff, because the abilities right now are not enough to cover all the stuff, all the work content that you will do in the long run. So you need to improve your skills, or you need to learn new skills. You need to have new abilities in the long run at work. So when you consider what kind of occupation you want to do, consider the abilities that you have right now, but also consider your potential, your attitudes about those occupations, your attitudes about those abilities. So even though you don't have those abilities right now, so far, but you can learn them, right? So you can improve your abilities. If you really want to pursue a certain occupation, for example, if you really want to be a programmer, but right now you don't have any abilities or skills to write codes, you can start right now to learn them. You can take classes. You can learn how to code online. There are tons of resources online already nowadays. You can start to learn them. And after 1 year or 2 years, probably you are good at programming already. So that's something you need to balance. So abilities right now that you have help you to be successful in the next 3 years. However, in the long run, if you work more than 3 years, you need new skills, you need new abilities. You need to keep growing, you need to keep learning while you are working. So that's the stuff that I need to clarify with you. And also the third factor to consider is about your own values. So what kind of values do you want to find at work? In other words, what do you value the most at work? So what do you want to achieve at work? What do you want to accomplish at work? That is also really important. For example, if you really want to save people, save patients' life, you'd better be a medical doctor or nurse or some other occupations about health services. Yeah, so if you want to be if you want to gain power, for example, if you want to have a lot of power, you can be a manager and you strive to be a CEO at a certain company so that you have a lot of power. So those are the values, possible values you can choose to realize. So you can think about what values do you really want to find at work, and make sure that you have those values. You're clear that you value those values, and choose certain occupations that can help you realize those values. For example, yeah, another example is that if you really want to let other people know about knowledge, know about something that you want them to know, you can be a teacher, you can be a professor, you can be some people who deliver the knowledge to other people, to serve other people. That's also one of the values that you can realize at work. And the next component is about your own motivation. So that part is really close to values and attitudes. So that is about your own feelings, your own like emotional part, feeling part towards a certain occupation. So motivation is about the goals that you have, what you want to achieve at work. So that is close to values. So basically, what goals want to achieve is consistent with what values do you want to find at work, or what are you proud of. That is about your attitudes towards certain occupations. And some people want to be policemen because they think that the policemen are heroes. So they are proud of being a policeman. So they choose to be a policeman when they graduate, or they choose to go to schools or choose certain majors that allow them to be a policeman, like a criminal justice. Yeah, so you need to think about your own motivation, what you want to do, what you want to achieve in your life. And also another really important factor to consider is your own interests. What do you like doing? That is not about your values or your identities or your goals or your attitudes. That is what you like doing, what you are interested in. So you need to know about your own interests. So how to find your own interests? You can think of like the moment that you are in flow. It means that the time runs fast. You are so engaged in certain activities. You enjoy those activities. You enjoy the moment when you are doing it. And you can find those moments. And you can reflect what you were doing in those moments. So that's how you find your own interests. For example, if you enjoy the most when you are coding, if you are writing programs, writing codes, and in those moments you enjoy the most, time runs really fast, and it's like it is so quickly. The time is out, and you feel like you enjoy so much, and the time's so short, and times goes by really quickly, and you are so engaged in programming. So I'm sure that you are interested in programming or writing codes. But how to find certain occupation based on your own interests? There are steps. There are 3 steps to consider. The first step is to discover your interests. So that's what we just talked about. And the second step, you know your interests, and you can find some occupations that help you realize those interests or help you do some activities that reflect your interests. So link occupations with your own interests. For example, if you like write codes, if you like programming, you can be a programmer for a IT company. If you like teaching or provide the explanations to people, you can be a teacher. So because teaching is related to conveying the knowledge to other people. And also the third step is to determine which occupations correspond to abilities and aptitudes. So you need to consider what kind of abilities that you have, and consider what kind of abilities that this occupation needs. So these are interests. So how to balance these factors? Which one is more important? Which one is less important? How to like balance them? How to make a middle ground? For example, probably your abilities are not in programming, but you like programming. How do you do it? How do you make a choice? So there is one guy called Tal Ben-Shahar. So Tal Ben-Shahar used to be a professor at Harvard University. And there is a online course called Positive Psychology, I think, taught by Tal Ben-Shahar at Harvard University. And that course, there are free resources of every course of that, every class of that course taught by this guy, Tal Ben-Shahar. So you can find those videos on YouTube. So about what factors to consider when choosing a certain occupation, Tal Ben-Shahar suggests that everybody needs to balance 3 things. So one thing is what you enjoy to do. Namely, that is your interests. You need to consider what you enjoy to do or your interests. And the second thing is that your abilities, what you are able to do well in this occupation, what brings success. Sorry. What is something you're able to do well, aka abilities. So you need to consider your abilities. And the third factor is whether this occupation brings success, such as financial success, such as social status, such as fame, social fame. So one is interest, the second one is ability, and the third one is the outcome, the real success. So you can choose this, you can consider these factors. The best occupation that you can choose is a certain occupation you enjoy to do, you are able to do well, and the occupation that brings success to you. So consider that. So what occupation can make you successful? What occupation at the same time make you enjoy to do, make you are able to do well? So you can consider the three things at the same time. And there's one example. The founder of Facebook, we know that guy is Mark Zuckerberg, I think. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg was good at programming because he was really good at programming when he was in high school and in college. And also he enjoyed programming. He wrote codes to invent a MP3 player in high school by himself. So he was really, really interested in writing programs to create softwares. And also he was able to do that well. And also choosing that occupation, founding this Facebook, make him really famous, already brings him a lot of money. He was super rich because of Facebook. So founding Facebook is perfect for him. So you can also find a certain occupation that covers all these three things at the same time, ideally. And what if we cannot find those occupations who cover all these three things? What we do? We can have a middle ground. We can compromise. For example, there is something that you enjoy to do, you're able to do well, but that thing cannot bring you success. That is also fine. Another situation is that you're able to do it. That thing brings you success, but you do not enjoy to do. That is also fine. Yeah, so you, at least there are two things that are covered if you choose that occupation. So it is flexible. You can keep searching. You can keep thinking about yourself. You can think about the reality. Yeah, that is something that you need to consider. You need to balance. You need to compromise. So that is about your life. You need to consider all these factors. And then a next really important factor to consider is your own personality types or your own characteristics. So there was a really famous researcher in occupational psychology or organizational psychology whose name was John Holland. He identified 6 types of people that fit 6 types of occupations. So we are different kinds of people. We are good at different things. And for different occupations, they're all also different. There can be occupations that require you to be really creative, really artistic. But there can be other kinds of occupations that require you to be really disciplined, really focus on the details, and really focus on the order, really focus on the consistency. So there are different kinds of jobs, different kinds of occupations, and there are different kinds of people. And there can be a matching between this person's personality and that occupation's characteristics. So Holland's 6 types of personality types solve that problem, answer that question. So let's look at this 6 personality types. The first one is called investigative. So who are these people? Some people like to learn, like to analyze, like to solve questions, answer questions, like why there is a sun in the sky, why there is day, why there is night, right? So all these kind of questions. Why people commit crimes, why people are happy, in what situations people are happy. So all these questions are worthy of investigation. And people who are investigative like to analyze those problems and answer the questions. They like to use like some kind of a scientific methods to answer those questions. So these people are investigative. They like ideas. They like to create new ideas of how this world is working. And another type is artistic. So some people are really artistic. They're innovative. They're creating arts. They are really good at either music or painting or creating some really artwork, really good artwork. These people are really good at creating arts. They are really creative. They're really innovative, but they do not like really detailed stuff, really ordered stuff, such as accountancy or data science or being a secretary. They do not like those kind of work. And the third type is a social personality type. So people who are social, they like to interact with other people. They like to help others to solve problems. They like to give advices to other people. They like to discuss with others. They like to solve problems in discussions with other people. So anything they do is about interacting with other people. They really like doing those things. And the next type of personality is enterprising. So enterprising people focus on doing tasks, focus on achieving a certain goal through organizing other people. They like to influence others. They like to persuade other people to follow them to achieve a certain goal in the team or in the organization. They like to lead and manage other people. So you can tell that these people are perfect managers or perfect leaders in certain organizations or companies. And another type is conventional type. So what is a conventional type? They are exactly opposite of artistic type. They like to work with data. They like to work with something about numbers. Like they like to work something that is really clerical, such as secretary. So they pay attention to details. They pay attention to orders. They like to be instructed. So they need other people tell them how to do it, what to do. They like the structure, they like the really certain things at work. They cannot really work well if there are not a lot of instructions, if the structure is not well. They need to be really clear what to achieve, how to do it, what tools they have, what is the process, what is the exact process, what are these details. So they need to make sure that everything is in order, everything is really detailed. So something like data analyst or accountants or secretaries, all these occupations are good for conventional people. And the last type of people is realistic. So they like to work with things, objects, animals, plants, or they like to like manipulate their own physical bodies. For example, sports players, athletics, or some kind of mechanics such as electric mechanics working with electric systems, or engineers work with all kinds of machines. Mechanical engineers, they work with machines, or mechanical techniques, they fix machines. So those kind of work is really good for realistic people because they like to manipulate things, including their own physical bodies, including the machines, tools, objects, plants, and animals, and even the physical environment, some outdoor activities, such as hiking, such as racing with a car, like Oscar. Yeah, so those people are realistic. They like to work with things, objects, and uh, animals and plants. So they are different from investigative people, because investigative people are liking abstract things like ideas. They like to answer questions that are not answered yet. So they like to discover something that is about ideas, that is abstract, that is about some kind of laws in the universe. But realistic people like specific things. Yeah. So these are 6 types of personalities. And there's a hexagon on the right in this slide, and you can see what they are like. And also there is a table that lists the values that each type of people pay attention or emphasize, and the characteristics of each type of people, and also the work the styles of working, the work styles of this kind of people, or how they like working, the way they work. So let's look at the investigative. So investigative, what they value? They value independence. They like to work independently because they do not want to disturb by other people. They also value accuracy. They want to make sure that every idea is really accurate, is correct. And also they like to invent something because they need to create something new. They need to create new ideas. So what they like doing, they like to work alone. They do not want to be supervised by other people. They do not like to supervise other people as well. They like to work alone. What they are like, they are really curious because they like to answer questions to get new ideas, to know why the world is like this. They are really analytical because they use all kinds of scientific methods to answer those questions. And also they focus on the theories. They are really confident in their intellectual abilities. They think they are smart. And the second type is artistic. What they value, what they pay attention to. They want to be creative, so they pay attention to creativity. They also pay attention to expressing themselves because they really want to express themselves. They also value beauty. What they like doing, how they work. They want to be different. They work, yeah, every artist is really different from each other. They like to express themselves by creating new stuff. They do not want to be supervised as well. So this feature is same with the investigative people. What the artistic people are like, they are really creative. They are original because they do not like copy from others. They rely on their own intuitions. So they do not really analyze something. They do not follow the really good procedures to investigate things or procedures to create something. They rely on intuitions. At once they have the feelings. They just create this artwork. They do not care about whether it's right or not. And also they are impulsive because at once there's a feeling about something. There is an idea. Something occurs from their mind. They need to do it right away to create that artwork. And the third type, social, yeah. So they really pay attention or emphasize to understanding others, showing empathy to others, and also give services, providing services to other people. What is the way of working for them? They work with people, they discuss with others, they cooperate with others, they accompany with other people, they help others. And usually this kind of people are really, outgoing, really warm, really friendly. They like to talk with people. They like to have conversations with people. And also they like to cooperate with other people. So the next three types, let's see. Yeah, the next type is enterprising. So they are perfect leaders and managers. They like to pursue success, social status. They like to gain power. They like to initiate things. And also they are outgoing. It's the same with social people, but they are more likely to gain power, like to influence others. Let other people follow them instead of cooperate with others. And also they are also ambitious and like to take adventures. What is the way of working for enterprising people? Basically, they organize and manage activities in the groups, make things happen, initiate and supervise activities, and influence others, persuade others, lead others, all these kind of things. And the next type of people is conventional. So those are the people who like to work with things. So they also value accuracy, same with investigative people, but they also value persistence or order. They like to involve in some kind of computational or clerical activities, such as being a secretary or something like, let me see, accountants, secretaries. That's that kind of activities that I can think of. Yeah, some clerical and computational activities. These activities really require people to focus on the details, to be accurate, to be in order. Everything is really neat. Everything is really well organized. So this conventional people are really well organized. They are really conscientious. They are practical. They are reliable, but also they are usually traditional because they do not like something that is too compulsive or too innovative or too creative. Because those creative and innovative things will break the sense of order, break the sense of conscientiousness. And the last type is realistic people. They like to work with things. So they work with things, with animals, plants, objects, machines, and tools. Construct things, repair things, fix things. They like to use machines and equipment. What are they like? They are really persistent. They are builders. They like to build things. And also they are conservative. They value what they value, what they pay attention to. They pay attention to nature. And also they value common sense. And also they value something that is practical because they need to work with things. They need to make sure that things are working. So these are realistic people. So these are 6 types of personalities, but it doesn't mean that one person only has one personality type. What does that mean? It means that probably one person has more than one type. So maybe one person has 3 types at the same time. And one person may fit into several types. For example, one person may be artistic, but also that person is social. Another person may be really conventional, but also really realistic. So that person like to work with things, with machines, but also work with data, like to do some clerical work. That is also possible. Maybe another person is really investigative, but also artistic and also social. Like to talk, like to be innovative, but also like to analyze something. And there are some kind of relationships among these types. So one person who are in one type is more likely to have types that are adjacent to this type in this hexagon. What does that mean? It means that, for example, if there's one person who is majorly artistic, it is more likely for this person to be social or investigative, but it's not really likely for this person to be conventional or realistic or enterprising. So we can see like this person, if this person is majorly artistic, this person is more likely to be social, more likely to be investigative, but less likely to be conventional or enterprising or realistic. No. Because their artistic type is really close to social and investigative. And the conventional type is really close to enterprising and realistic. Realistic type is close to investigative and conventional, but really different from social, artistic, or enterprising. So you can see why this hexagon is organized in this way. There is a reason. So these are the 6 personality types, and we have introduced each type specifically. And you can consider what types or which type do you have, what kind of people you are. And then based on these types, you can consider what kind of occupations do you want to choose. For example, if you're really highly conventional, probably you can choose to be a secretary or accountant. If you're really investigative, probably you can choose to be a scientist, a researcher. If you're a really enterprising person, kind of a person, you can choose to go to companies to be a manager. And in the future, you can strive to be a CEO of that company. If you're a really realistic person, you can be a mechanic or some kind of worker who work with things. If you are a like a social type of person, you can be you can find some kind of occupations in marketing, or to be a salesman or saleswoman. Yeah, so being a sales is really consistent with this kind of people. Yeah, here's a question for you. What kind of personality types do you have? You can select 3 types and then write them down and think about what these types are they, and how well these types describe you, and what kind of occupations can you choose based on these types. You can choose only one. Probably somebody just has one type. That is also possible. Okay, so next part are the specific steps to make a career decision. So far we have talked about what factors to consider when choosing a specific occupation, but like what are the specific steps? First of all, focus on yourself. So you need to consider who you are. What motivation do you have? What attitudes do you have toward those occupations? Which occupation do you like the most? And what values do you have? What you really want to achieve in your entire life? That's something you need to know about. You need to understand yourself. So make sure that you understand yourself. You can have a lot of self-reflection. You can look at your internal side, look at your heart. What is in there? So focus on yourself the first. And the second step, after knowing about yourself, after understanding yourself, you can generate some solutions. So how to generate solutions? You can gather some information about some kind of possibilities. You can evaluate those information as well. So you can generate different possibilities. You can be a teacher, you can be a sales, you can be a manager, you can be some kind of a consultant, right? So all these occupations are kind of related. For example, and they all involve talking. They all involve working with others. You can have multiple solutions. And you need to collect the information and evaluate information about these possibilities. You need to evaluate and information about being sales, being consultants, being a manager. So there is one website that collects all the information about all occupations. I write down the website address here. You can see it. It's called onetonline.org. So that is really good website that allow you to know about every occupation. So if you want to be a like manager, you can search the occupation on that website. You can type in manager, or if you want to be a programmer, you can type programmer. on that website, and you can see all the information about that occupation. Yeah, it's called ONET Online. And the next step, you need to prioritize these possibilities. You need to have an order of these possibilities. That is, you need to know which possibility is you want the most. Which possibility is the second one that you want the most? Yeah, you need to give this possibility a specific order. So, for example, for first one, I want to be a manager. The second one, I want to be a teacher. The third one, I want to be a sales person. And the next step, you know these possibilities, you know the orders, make a decision. Just make a decision. Which occupation do you like to choose in the future? And the next step, with the decision that you have, you need to do something to carry out the decision. For example, you need to know how to sell your own abilities to the employers, how to write a good resume to apply for those positions in these occupations, or what kind of skills you need to have. If you don't have those skills, do something to learn those skills, to master those skills. You can take online courses, you can get a degree, you can find some kind of internships beforehand, before applying for a formal position. Apply for some kind of internships so that you can accumulate some kind of a work experience to prepare for those occupations. So do something that make your decision happen. So that is this step. And the last step is to get feedback. That is your idea. So far, all these things are all about your ideas, your understanding of yourself. You can have solutions. You generate different possibilities. You do something to realize these possibilities. But does it work? Is your ideas really practical or really working? So you need to get feedback from reality. You need to decide whether the choice is viable for you, that whether that choice is really working for you, whether you're able to choose that choice, really whether you are able to choose that occupation. And also the world is changing so fast, so the choice that you had before might not always be good. So 2 years ago you want to be a manager, but right now you don't want to be a manager. You find that being a manager is not good enough. You want to be a teacher right now. That works because the world is changing, the reality is changing, the situation is changing, and you are changing as well. You may discover more of yourself, or you may shift the interest to others. So everything is changing. So just keep updated, keep getting feedback about what is working, what is changing, what you want. Okay, so these are the general frameworks for steps that you can choose a specific occupation or career. So there can be more steps, more details about this. Sorry about that. So So right now you have a general sense of what kind of steps to take, and you need to practice these steps. It's not easy to carry out. Actually, it's not easy for me to carry out. Actually, yeah, just focus on yourself and make some plans, generate some kind of possibilities based on your understanding of yourself, and really do something to carry out these decisions. And these are basic parts of making a career decision. So let's go to another component of this today's class. Yeah, so let's go to the next part. What makes work better? That is another really important question to ask. So what factors, what things make work better? So in other words, if you want to make your own work better, what need to be happen? What need to be there? What are the reasons to make work better? So let's see. So first of all, let's see what makes work worse. So if we know what make work worse, we have a sense of what can make work better. So let's look at the factors that make us feel that the work is really bad. The work experience is really bad. The first factor is the bullying at work. So it means that people are bullied at work. They're abused. They are treated badly. There are 35% of the workforce in the United States reported that they used to be bullied at work, or they were being bullied at work. That is shocking, I think, and that is really high percentage. So at workplace, there is a circumstance, there is a possibility that everyone can be bullied at work, can be abused. And another factor is that sometimes employees or workers at workplace need to meet the deadlines and quotas. There is a KPI for them every month, every week. They need to satisfy those KPIs. They need to meet those quotas. Otherwise, they'll get punished or they are fired. If they cannot meet the deadlines, the managers will treat badly to them, or they can be fired, something like that. So they have to meet deadlines. They have to be quick enough at work, or they have to achieve some kind of goal for this month. And another factor is that they have to compete with others. Sometimes they think they are doing good enough, but if they compare themselves with others, they're not good enough. They have to be super good. They have to be better compared to others. They have to be better than other people's work so that they can survive at the workplace. So that makes them to be really stressful, and it brings a lot of negative feelings, such as anxiety, such as sadness. And also sometimes there's no job security. It means that they do not know whether they will be fired or not. They do not know whether they can stay in this job or not. They do not know whether they will have income in the future or not. So that is a lack of this job security. They do not feel secure at work in the job. And sometimes employees at work, they do not only need the benefit right now for this week, but also they need to want to have growth. They need to have the opportunities to grow themselves, to have a career development in the future. That is for future. So they have expectations. People have expectations about the future. If, for example, if I make a really little money this month, I'm okay with it. But if I know that I have no opportunities to make more money in the future, I have no opportunities to have more advanced skills at my position, I'll be desperate. I will have no hope. Because in the future, I expect to be richer. I expect to have more income. I expect to have more achievements at work. If there's no or little opportunities for growth, that is also a really negative factor that makes work really worse. And sometimes for some occupations, they need to deal with customers that are not friendly, that are difficult. So they have a lot of complaints. They do not listen to you, and those customers are really difficult to handle. Yeah, so that brings stress. So that kind of work or that kind of stress is called emotional labor. People have physical labor. They get tired physically because they need to do something at work. For example, carrying some kind of packages for a worker. But for some other employees, they do not have a lot of physical labor, but they have emotional labor. They need to deal with customers emotionally. They need to invest their emotions to deal with those customers. When the customers are complaining, they need to smile at the customers. They need to speak gently toward those customers. So that is really hard to do, actually. So emotional labors makes them feel really exhausted and stressful sometimes. And also another factor is that sometimes they do not have self-esteem. They do not think that they can do well at work. They do not think that they are worthy of this level of work and this level of income. So that they struggle in their own heart. Because what they get or what they are doing is not consistent of their own understanding about themselves. This also makes them really stressful. And also another factor is that the work and the life outside of work cannot be balanced. There's no balance between work and life. For example, somebody need to work, go to work every day, but she has kids. She has kids to take care of. She has to. She needs to get the kids from school every afternoon, and send the kids to school every morning, and cook the meals for the kids every day. And also need to hang out with kids because kids need the love from their parents. So you can see that she has too many things at the same time to do every day. Probably she cannot balance all these things. She cannot balance work and life. And also another possibility is that she has grandma to take care of. Grandma is really sick, and grandma cannot cook for herself, so that she needs to cook for her grandma every day. But she is really busy at work. So in those situations, work and life cannot be balanced. So they are really exhausted. They are really stressful about this. So all these factors make work really worse and make let the people have a really bad work experience. And next, let's see what makes work better. Let's see that these factors are the opposite of the factors that make work worse. So first of all, if there is enough autonomy at work, means that you do not have to meet the deadlines on specific dates. You do not have to meet some kind of quotas. You do not have to meet some kind of KPIs every month. You can be flexible at work. You can choose what kind of a arrangement or schedules you can follow. You are able to choose what kind of schedules to follow, what kind of quotas to meet every month. This factor, this enough autonomy makes work better. And if there can be respect and social support from other people at workplace, such as their leaders, their co-workers, their customers, if there can be a lot of warmth and friendliness at workplace, I think the workplace can be a better place. So people need respect and social support from other people. Otherwise, people will not have really good experience at work. And another factor can be job security. It means that they know that they are able to stay in this position in the future. They know that they'll have a stable income every month, every week. They know that they cannot lose the job very easily. So that factor also makes a workplace a better place. Another one is that if there are a lot of opportunities for growth and professional or career development, that'd be really good for employees, for every employee, because they have better expectations of their own future. They can have a brighter future with these opportunities for development. And another factor is that if there is a balance between work and family, it means that they can adjust well to both take care of work and take care of family. That is a really big plus for the employees who have those needs. And also high self-esteem and self-confidence are important for everyone. Because they have a good feeling about themselves if they have high confidence and high self-esteem at work in their jobs. And another thing is that the meaningfulness, the feeling that they have a meaningful job or they are doing something meaningful at work. That feeling, that sense is really important for everybody. So the meaning that they can find at work makes work better, because we will talk about this in detail in the last chapter 13, about the meanings and values that people want to pursue. But generally speaking, people are species that seek meaning. They cannot live without meanings. They need to seek meaning. They need to find meaning in life and also at work. Otherwise, they feel pain. They feel that their life is empty. Nobody wants their life empty. They want their life meaningful. So the meaning that they can find at work is also a really important factor for everyone to feel that the work is really good. So this is not a exhaustive list of factors that make work better, but these factors are definitely the factors that we need to consider if we want to make ourselves work better. And also, you can evaluate a work environment or a specific job with these factors to see if this job meets the standard of these factors. If this work is if this job has autonomy, I mean, like if this job allow people to have autonomy at work, if this job allow people to get respect and social support from other people, if this job can provide enough security, if this job provide enough opportunities for growth and development, if this job allow people to balance between work and family, if this job make people to feel that they're good people, they make them to have higher self-esteem, if this job help people to find a meaning at work. So if all these standards are met, this job is really fantastic job. Otherwise, on the other hand, this job is not that good. So let's go to next big part of this today's lecture. It is about leisure and recreation. So that is something that we do outside of work. So here's a question for you. So besides work, why people need leisure time? Why do people need leisure time? What do you think of this question? So they need work for sure. They need work for income. They need work for meaning. They need work for values in their life. But why do people need leisure time? Why do people need recreation? Why do people need to do something outside work? So what do you think? You can pause the video right now and think about this question. So what is a leisure? It is the opposite of work. So in leisure time, we can use our time free. We can totally control our time. We can totally control how to use the time. We can totally control what we want to do. So in leisure time, we can use the time to do what we want to do. So in the leisure time, we do not to work hard. We just have fun, have a good time. We just use the time in the way that we want to use. So the really key points here, so why we need a leisure time is that we can just use the time based on our free will, based on our volition, based on our willingness. So we are willing to use the time in this way, we can use them, we can do it. We can just realize our hope in the leisure time. So that is about self-actualization. That is about autonomy. In leisure time, we feel that we have autonomy to manage our life. So we do not have to meet the quota. We do not have to meet the deadlines. We do not have to deal with the difficult customers. So at work, there's a lot of things that we cannot control. There are a lot of things that we have to deal with, but in leisure time, we don't have to deal with those difficult things. We don't have to like have a life that is really stressful. So that is the meaning of leisure. That's why we need to have leisure time to refresh ourselves, to recover the pain from workplace. We need to find a time to recover ourselves from the workplace. So the benefits of leisure time is that we can reduce the stress that we have accumulated at the workplace. We can find the meanings outside work. So work and achievements at work and the career developments, these are not their entire life. These are something in our life, but they're not their entire things in our life. We can have something else outside work. And also in leisure time, we can find a way to express ourselves. For example, we can be really creative, we can be really artistic if we have those needs. We can train ourselves to be really good at athletics, really good at some kind of sports. And also, it provides a balance in life. So we need to have a balance between life and work. We need to have a work life, we need to have a personal life. So we need to hang out with our family, we need to be alone to do something that we really want to do besides work. So these are the benefits of recreation. I think that's all the stuff for today's lecture. And we need to know about these key points for this chapter and this week. So the factors to consider when making a career decision or when choosing a certain occupation. So the factors that we need to think of, for example, the attitudes toward certain occupations, the motivation, the values that one has, the abilities, the interests, the personality types, and all this. And also next key point is the 6 personality types created by John Holland, such as social type, such as realistic type, such as conventional type, and so forth. And the next key point is that we need to know the steps to make a career decision. And also the factors that make work worse and make it work better. So actually, a lot of these factors are just the opposites of each other. So what make work worse? The opposite of that make work better, such as job security. Lack of job security make work worse, but enough job security make work better. And the next part is leisure. So why do we have leisure? What the benefits of leisure? What we do in the leisure time. So that's all about leisure. And that's all the stuff for work and recreation. And I hope that you really use the knowledge that we learned from this lecture and really apply them in everyday life. Because we all need to work, we all have recreation time. And I think this knowledge is really practical and useful in our daily life, in our work. So I hope that you have a really bright future in your career. And let's look at the journal assignment. So let's look at the journal 9. So for this chapter about the work and recreation, we need to finish the journal assignment, which is journal 9. So first of all, we need to finish a survey in a textbook. So it's on page 313 in the section Take Time to Reflect. So you go to page 313 and find the section Take Time to Reflect and finish that survey. And also after that, you can write a journal to answer these five questions. question 1. So review the list on page 313 and then write down the 3 most important values associated with selecting a career or occupation. So you need to read what the stuff on page 313 and write down the most 3 values. And you think those 3 values are the most important. So write down the 3 most important values and also have some kind of reflection about your past experiences and the knowledge about yourself. Answer the question from 2 to 5. So question 2, in what areas do you see your strongest abilities so far? So this question is about your abilities. So you can write about your strongest abilities. And the third question is about your interests. So what are a few of your major interests? You can write about your major interests. And question 4, which of Holland's 6 personality types best describe you? So actually you can write about one, the major one, so the one that fits you the best. And you can write about up to 3 personality types. And the last question, so reviewing the answers from question 1 to question 4, you can write down the answers for question 1 from question 1 to question 4, and then answer question 5. So reviewing the questions, reviewing the answers for question 1 to 4, what occupation do you see as most suitable to your interests, abilities, values, and personalities? So this question asks you to make a final decision. So considering all these factors, which occupation is the best for you? If you already have a occupation, imagine a scenario if you have not chosen any occupation yet. So if you haven't chosen any occupation yet, you can answer this question. But you have a certain occupation already. Just imagine a scenario. You have a new life and you haven't made a career decision yet. So what you need to make a career decision right now, and what is the process of making a career decision? So you can imagine that scenario. And it's due this weekend, April 18th. So the first question just lists the 3 values. That's 1 point. And question 2 is 3 points. Question 3 is 3 points. So question 2 is about your abilities, and question 3 is about your interests. And the question 4 is about the personality types that match you the best. That's 3 points. And question 5 is 2 points. So list 1 or more occupations and write about the reasons why you choose this or these occupations. So for answering question 5, you need to list the occupation and also give the reasons for why you choose that occupation or a few occupations. And that's it for this week for today's lecture. And let's talk about loneliness, solitude, and loss and death next week. And see you next week.